Hello, I'm Claire Smith and welcome to my channel. So today I've got a Middle Eastern fragrance haul for you. I've just been sucked down this rabbit hole into the world of Middle Eastern fragrances and I've bought a couple. So today I've got 3 fragrances to show you and I'm just going to talk you through them and sort of say what I think of them and whether I think they're worth the money you pay for them. If you want to try them, you can do it. It's relatively risk-free because it's really not that pricey. So the first 2 are actually from the same brand. They're both from Lattafa. So Lattafa in Arabic means kindness, and Lattafa launched internationally in 2012. I got sucked into buying Lattafa fragrances, I think, by watching A Fragrant Glance. If you haven't checked out her channel on YouTube, please go check her out. I really love watching her channel. She's very engaging. So the first fragrance that A Fragrant Glance really made me want to buy is this one. So this is Sheikh Al Shuyukh by Lattafa. So Sheikh Al Shuyukh means wise man of the village, I think, from my poor Arabic translations. So I wasn't really sure what to expect from this one when I first got it, but this one is widely compared to Oud Bouquet by Lancome, as well to Swiss Arabian Shaghaf Oud, and also to Oud Mood by Lattafa, so another Lattafa fragrance that also smells similar to this one. I didn't really know which of the 2 to get, and in the end I plumped for this one because people were saying this was slightly more feminine than Oud Mood. So yeah, I chose this one, but I'm not sure whether I made the right choice or not really. So this is the box the fragrance comes in. It's called the Luxe Edition for some reason. I think there is an original Sheikh Al Shuyukh, so that's probably why. It's a unisex marketed fragrance. Lattafa fragrances all have this holographic logo on. Apparently that's really important to look for that because people do fake them. Even though they cost, I think this one cost me about £11, people apparently do fake them, which I find surprising. I wouldn't have thought there'd be much profit in that, but clearly there is. So this opens by pulling here, and then there's a box inside, and then within this box you get this perfume bottle. So the perfume bottle itself looks like this. It's got this kind of gold front piece, but it's plain all the rest of the way around, and then it has this beautiful kind of hammered metal top. The top, it actually does feel quite weighty. It feels quite good quality. The bottle itself is pretty simple. It looks pretty unisex. I wouldn't have said this looks particularly feminine. I think Lattafa have done quite a good job of making a unisex perfume with this one. So what does this fragrance smell like? Well, initially it's quite warm. So you get a lot of the cinnamon and the saffron, especially in this fragrance. And then as it dries down, it becomes sort of woodier, rosier, and also a little bit oudy. I know oud isn't listed in this fragrance, but it's definitely there. If you don't like oud, don't buy this fragrance. I think it's quite a clean oud though, and I think the listed note is actually patchouli. So maybe I'm just mistaking my patchoulis for oud, but to me this smells of oud. There is an underlying sweetness that's throughout this fragrance, so I think the listed note is caramel. I wouldn't really be able to identify exactly what it is. To me, it sort of smells just chemically sweet. I can't really say that I distinctively smell caramel in this fragrance. It's just sweet. From other people's descriptions of what Oud Bouquet and Shaghaf Oud smell like, I do think this is comparable. I think for me though, this has a lot of cinnamon, and I think that if you like that cinnamon rose combination, then maybe this one is a better one to go for. This is also cheaper as well. So, you know, if you're looking to try those scents, but for something that's only costing you £11, you can't really go wrong, can you? So overall, I think this perfume's just sort of a woody, aromatic, kind of warm, not spicy exactly, just warm perfume with some rose. I think the rose is really quite prominent, but ultimately for me, the saffron and the warmth are really what comes through most of all. So just to get other people's opinions on this perfume, I took this one to work and I let my colleagues try it. And they said to me that they thought it smelled a lot more expensive than it actually was, but they also said that they thought it was way too strong. I can kind of see that because when they started spraying it, I could smell it the whole way down the corridor. It was kind of almost embarrassing really, just how strong this perfume was. I think if you're looking for something with immense projection and immense sillage, this is the perfume to go for. I don't think I've ever come across something quite this strong. And actually, like, this one is supposed to be dialed down in comparison with things like Shaghaf Oud and Oud Bouquet. So if you want something that is wow, then this is the one to go for. No one's going to miss you wearing this one. I think, you know, having had the experience of smelling it at work, I probably wouldn't wear this for work because I think it's just a bit too much. But, you know, if you work somewhere where you're not going to bother other people, then go for it. I'd say out of the 3 perfumes that I've bought, this one sort of fulfills the stereotype of what Middle Eastern fragrances in people's minds might smell like. I think just because of the fame of Shaghaf Oud. So yeah, would I buy it again? Yeah, for £11, I definitely would buy it again. It's an amazing perfume for £11. I think the things that I've learned about Lattafa perfumes are that you need to wait before you judge them. You need to wait for the dry down. You need to try them several times, and you also need to not smell them up close. You smell the cloud, you smell the overall impression of the perfume. You don't analyse them in extreme detail, because if you smell them up close, that sort of saffron note can smell a little bit rubbery and plasticky. But really, you know, on the dry down, in the overall impressions, this is a great fragrance for only £11. So that's Sheikh Al Shuyukh by Lattafa. So the second perfume that I've picked up is actually another one from Lattafa, and it's called Opulent Musk, and it comes in this white box. It's got, again, the holographic logo, and it has the gold Lattafa logo. Looks very classy. The bottle itself is even classier, so it looks beautiful, doesn't it? For £11.50, which I think is what this fragrance was, I think that is insane, because it just looks so expensive. It's just so beautiful. I think it's just because it's in the white, it just sort of makes it stay a little bit classier with all this gold hardware. But yeah, the bottle got me with this one. So this comes in a range of other perfumes. I think there's a blue one, there's a black one. I think the black one's called Opulent Oud. But I chose this one because I was kind of curious, because I have tried Ariana Grande's Cloud. I don't like it. I like the opening, I don't like the dry down. And Cloud is a notorious Baccarat Rouge dupe. And this one is also meant to be a bit of a Baccarat Rouge dupe. So this perfume is meant to be most like Baccarat Rouge 540 in the opening. And that is the bit that I don't like. So I think this is telling me something, isn't it? So the opening for me is very heavy on saffron. And unfortunately, I think I've just got one of those noses and one of those brains that perceives saffron as sort of something slightly plasticky, something slightly rubbery. So to me, the opening smells like burnt plastic, but with kind of a sweet, very soft lemon and some musk. But after the opening, which actually is quite long in this fragrance, I would say this is a longer than average opening for a fragrance. After the opening, it does dry down into something that I really, really love. So the dry down is more of a slightly lemony, but very soft lemon, a creamy lemon, musk, with a bit of a pine note in the background. And actually that's really nice. My mum tried this one and she loved it. So another thing that my mum actually managed to do with this fragrance is put the top back on, and she screwed it back on. And that has made this fragrance leak slightly, so don't do that. I think this fragrance does have that Baccarat Rouge thing going on from what I know of it, because it does smell really kind of clinically clean and medically sweet. It reminds me a lot of those wooden tongue pushers that doctors use when they want to check how your throat is when you go to them with a sore throat. The taste of those is the smell of this fragrance. And actually, I really like this fragrance. I think that, you know, in the dry down, it smells really classy. It's really quite strong. It does project, but not as much as Sheikh Al Shuyukh, but it's definitely there. And I think this is a fragrance that you could become a little bit anosmic to. You get kind of wafts of it where you don't smell it at all, and then suddenly you do smell it. I think this one is the most interesting of the bunch that I've picked up here. It's very, very different to other things that I've smelt. I think that it's definitely something that is worthy of the hype. Even though I don't like the opening, I think that is just a personal opinion, and I don't think that that is something that other people actually seem to have an issue with. So please don't listen to me on the initial opening bit, because I don't think that is anything other than my own perceptions. This fragrance to me is not warm, it's not cold, it's quite neutral, and I think it's also quite clean smelling. So I think you could get away with this one in some kind of work setting. I think this one would actually be really good in a work setting, because it is so kind of, do I smell it, do I not? Even though it does project quite a lot because of the wafting. I think even if the person wearing this fragrance doesn't smell it, I think other people can definitely smell it. I also asked other people that I know to sample this one, and I could definitely smell it more on them than I could on myself, which is, I think, is really fascinating actually. I think actually this is a really, really nice fragrance, and I'm really pleased that I bought it. It's in a beautiful bottle and it's great value for under £12. So that's Opulent Musk by Lattafa. So the third fragrance is actually the most expensive one, and that is from Afnan. And this is actually a fragrance that Paola Bianca sent me a sample of, and I ran through that sample so quickly. And I spoke to Paola and she was saying how she sprays her cushions with this fragrance, and I thought that's a bit odd, and I thought, well, I must smell like Paola's cushions. Anyway, this one was closer to £30. It's about £27, £28, I think. So the fragrance is Rare Tiffany by Afnan. I've seen so many people talk about this fragrance. I'm really late to the game with this one. So I think I saw Glam Finds talk about this one, and then I saw GB Fragrances talk about this one, and then there's been a succession of other perfume channels talk about this one. Paola's obviously talked about it because she gave me the sample. Veronica Says, Adriana DC has talked about this one. Yeah, I'm late to the game, I'll admit it. So this bottle makes me think of gun barrels because of the top bit. It just the edging and the insert cuts of this bottle. It just reminds me of James Bond. That's what I think of with this fragrance. I don't know why. Probably just because it looks a bit like a bullet, I think. Maybe. I would say actually this bottle feels a lot cheaper than the Lattafa fragrances, even though this one is a more expensive perfume. I feel like the lid is still heavy, but the top here is just super cheap feeling. It's really plasticky and not very nice. And also on my bottle, a lot of the colour is coming off the bottle, which isn't great. So again, in this bottle, you get 100ml like the other ones. And I didn't actually realise that there's another fragrance in this collection. So there's also one called Rare Carbon, which I think is marketed towards men. This one is marketed as a feminine fragrance. It's not a unisex fragrance, apparently. I think I would agree with that. I can't see many men wanting to wear this one, but wear what you like. So Rare Carbon, I think, is quite famous as well because it's supposed to be an ombre leather dupe. So I was wondering what this one was duping, and I couldn't see any information. I don't know whether it's just an original fragrance or whether it is trying to dupe something. So what does this fragrance smell like? Well, I'm going to read you the notes because I can't find them on Fragrantica. I had to get them off the Afnan website. So the Afnan website says that the notes are rose, jasmine, ylang ylang, sandalwood, vanilla and musk, caramel, ginger and pink pepper. It's kind of sharply floral to begin with, and I really felt like I was smelling something like some soft citrus, maybe mandarin or something like that, but that's not listed, so that's clearly something that I'm just imagining. Of the notes listed, I think the ones that are most prominent in the opening are the jasmine and the ylang ylang, and I'm not the world's greatest fan of ylang ylang, so I didn't really find the opening that pleasant. So I'd say the dry down of this perfume is just a really sort of soft ginger with a very, very light rose, but mainly sort of a creamy, very light musk. It's all very light, it's all very well blended. Nothing really stands out at all in this fragrance, but you just get this overall floral, soft, creamy, slightly sweet musk. It's a really beautiful dry down, and I think that's what's got people with this fragrance. It feels very light, very innocent, very safe, this fragrance. It feels like something you could definitely wear to work. It's not going to scare anybody. It's not going to project the whole way down the corridor or anything like that. It's definitely a more gentle fragrance. I think this is probably the most approachable of the three fragrances. This is the safe blind buy, the one that most people are going to at least like. Overall, it just is a soft fragrance. That's just its nature. But I do think this one lasts a long time. I could still smell this on me sort of 7-8 hours later. It doesn't have any issues with lasting power. It just, if you want a really heavily strong projecting fragrance, this is probably not the one of the three. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. I think that's part of its beauty, that it isn't a beast. So that's Rare Tiffany by Afnan. So that's the final fragrance. I'd say, summing up, that I like all three. I would say as well that they all have different uses. They all fit different situations and different moods. And I would also say that I've been shocked by the difference in those three fragrances. I remember watching a review of Lattafa fragrances and seeing someone say, once you've got one Lattafa fragrance, you've got them all. And I would say that from my limited experience, that is not the case at all. I feel like the two fragrances are really quite different. Please let me know if you've got any Middle Eastern fragrances and which ones you would recommend to me. And let me know if you've tried any of these and what you think of them. I'd really love to know. So if you haven't done already, please like this video if you've liked this video, and also please consider subscribing if you are not already subscribed. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.